Thank you for joining us for this episode of Harvest 4 at 40, our series of 4 podcasts with 4 world-class learning and development industry experts, sharing 4 learnings in each episode. My name is Nicola O'Neill, and today I'm joined by Simon Cahill, who is the global leader of HR business partnering for Allianz Partners Health Operations. Simon will share his experience and journey on the theme of the changing face of OD within a global organisation. So please sit back, enjoy, and immerse yourself in the insights and inspiration. Simon, you're very welcome from Allianz Partners. We know that you are a very successful global organisation, but perhaps you can tell our listeners maybe 4 things to describe Allianz Partners.
Sure. Allianz Partners is part of the overall Allianz Group, a very large global insurance provider. We've presence right across the globe, all continents, where we service our very large customer base across a range of product lines in areas such as health insurance, mobility, travel insurance. So a really diverse workforce in order to support that client base. Approximately 21,000 staff or so, but really distributed across the globe, and a really great place to work, I would say.
Yeah, so I'm hearing scale, I'm hearing distribution, I'm hearing difference, which is great. And I know from working with you, it's like a 24/7 job because you've obviously people working all different hours and time zones, which is an interesting challenge as well.
Yes, absolutely. And pretty much the sun never sets, right? The sun never sets. And, when we take a look at the kind of products and the needs of our customers, that's the reality. You never know when there's going to be a requirement for support and for our services. So we always have to have an ability to be able to deliver that. Yeah.
So today we're going to talk about organisational development in general. And I suppose as an organisation who's a global footprint, is what we've just said, and a global service, instead of looking at challenges, what's the necessities that you need to look after in your organisation? What are the things that are important to you?
Well, there's lots of things really that are important to us, and it's a big long list. But if we were to start off at the beginning, it's really about customer centricity, right? Because, we're there for our customers. We want to be number one in the marketplace. We want to be able to deliver the right products at the right time. So in order to be able to do that, we have to have customer centricity at the heart of what we do. And that's really important for us and is sort of our guiding light.
Yeah. And in terms of a skilled workforce, in terms of bringing everyone towards that guiding light, talk to me about what you do to ensure that happens.
Sure. So, as I would have said, we've got a very large global workforce, culturally diverse. And, in any large organisation, such as Allianz Partners, you have a range of different skill sets that are required and a range of different needs. And they evolve over time as well. So, for example, in a particular functional area, for example, such as operations, you would have requirement for soft skills, you have a requirement for leadership skills, you have a requirement for IT skills, project management skills, and a whole host of other skills that continually have to evolve as the needs of the market and the needs of the business evolve as well.
Mm-hmm. And in terms of identifying those skills, because there's so much talk around identifying skills now and skills of the future, because such a diverse audience, how do you go about that? What's your strategy and activities to make sure that you're up to date on that?
Ultimately, there's a number of influences that are on that. Okay, so you've got external influences. So, starting with our clients, what do our clients need? What does the interaction look like with our customers? You have the regulatory environment that we obviously have to be able to support and operate within. And then internally as well ourselves. So, what do we need to develop within our own workforce? What are the requirements? What do we see happening within the business? So listening to our leaders, listening internally as well. So you have to combine all those different types of factors to be able to look at, well, what do we need to do now, but also what do we need to do in the future in order to be prepared, in order to be able to continue our position within the market as a customer-centric organisation.
And when you gather all that data, that intelligence, okay, how do you go about putting it into learning curriculums, or, so do you do it, is it a yearly cycle, is it a 6-month, is it built into performance management, is it strategy? How do you go about that?
Well, look, if we take I suppose, an example, right? And we take an example within our health business.
Yeah.
It starts off, yes, at the beginning of the year, and it times with the overall performance cycle of, the natural performance cycle of employees over the course of a yearly basis. But it's important to realize as well that, it's not a start and stop at a given point in a year.
Yeah.
It's something that evolves and is built upon, and you're layering layer after layer, year after year after year, in order to build the organizational competence. And as you build those layers, you increase the depth, you increase the resilience of the business, and you increase the capability and capacity of the business to be able to respond to the market needs.
And in terms of a development initiative, right, an OD development initiative, can you pick one in the last couple of years that made the most impact?
Sure. So, look, we have a whole host of different initiatives that will be delivered. There's multiple examples. So, for example, on a leadership basis, we would have our global #lead program, which provides our leaders across all levels within the business with their leadership passport. But then if we take a look at, I suppose, generating that engagement on a global scale, we also would have had, for example, our Power Hour series that we would have delivered, which would have helped drive engagement and drive, I suppose, that conscious awareness of the need to self-develop within our employee base.
I think you're underselling yourself a little bit. So in that Power Hour series, if I remember, I think we had 19 topics, and I know we partnered with you on that. And delivered a number of times in a number of time zones. So it was a significant piece of work. So you never do anything on a small scale. Is that fair to say?
Yes. And look, that's the reality of operating in a global business. We can't be centric to one geographic area. So when we take a look at a requirement that's there, we look at it from a one team basis.
Sure.
And our one team is the globe. So therefore, if it doesn't work on a global basis, then it's not going to work for us, because our client needs don't all of a sudden change because they've moved from one part of the world to another, okay? Our client needs and their expectations are the same across the globe, okay? They expect us to be able to deliver first-class service. They expect us to be able to be there when they need us, when they need us. And in order to be able to deliver on that in a customer-centric way, we have to be able to approach the development of our staff and our people and our overall business, our overall family, as a global model, right? Because without that, it just doesn't work for us.
So in terms of just ensuring that one team, and you've cultural differences, there's loads of nuances, there's regulatory differences. So do you have different teams in different continents? How do you make sure? So you're giving the same thing, as in the development experience. Are you tailoring it? How does that work?
We operate on, yes, a regional basis, but also we take a look at the different product lines that are there within the business. So, for example, in the health business, we would have 3 senior HR business partner managers who would work across APAC, MEA, Europe and the Americas in order to be able to help shape the offerings that come from the centres of expertise, and in order to be able to feed up the information about what's required, and in order to be able to create that bridge then back down into the organisation in terms of what needs to be delivered, what's available, and how that can map to the people development needs that we have across the business.
Okay, so it's driven by a business partner model who slightly localizes it, is that fair to say?
No, I wouldn't say localize it, right? Because ultimately, we're dealing with an organisation that has a global service need.
Right.
So it is about that one team approach. But what it's about is being able to take the actual delivery or the actual initiatives and to ensure that it maps to the needs at that point in time of that particular area of the business. So, for example, if we're talking about project management, you may have to, for example, emphasize or put more emphasis on a particular part of that development because that's more appropriate to that particular team or that particular part of the business, because they may be delivering projects of particularly large scale at that time, whereas another part of the business might be delivering projects of a smaller scale or the frequency might be higher. So the necessity to be able to concentrate in different parts of that is driven by what the actual business requirements are.
Okay, so they can dial up or dial down on different elements of it, depending on what's relevant.
But it's important to think as well that it's a collaborative model, right? It's a collaborative model. And, when we take a look at what requirements are, right, for the development of staff, it's not something that you define at a point in time and you say that's it.
Yes.
Right? That's it. That's we have our definition of what's required and now we go and deliver it, right? It has to evolve. It has to be agile in nature because the business needs can change, and they can change quite rapidly because of, circumstances. And as an organization and as a HR function, we have to be able to meet that need. We have to be able to have the right type of relationships with our centres of expertise, whereby we can give them the guidance, we can give the information, and we can do all of that in a timely way so as that we're able to actually then put the right type of solutions at the right time in front of the employees.
Okay. It's interesting because I've been doing a lot of talk with other OD leaders, and there's a common theme coming out, which is collaboration and the ability to influence and bring people with you. And I just want to maybe explore that a little bit more in terms of the skill set of your team and your business partners. What would you describe as being the most important skill set for an OD team in a global organisation?
Stakeholder management and engagement.
Yeah.
Well, and if I could actually add to that, stakeholder management and engagement is so critically important. But actually, if you take one step back from that and you take a look at business partnering in itself, right? Understanding the business and being a partner to that business, not just in the context of HR, right? In the context of overall business decision making. And if you can be embedded in the business, embedded in the management and embedded in the leadership teams and their decision-making processes and how they approach things, and you're inputting outside of the specific HR sphere, then you get viewed as a partner. You're able to collaborate so much easier because you're able to bring the context of not just human resources to the, let's say, particular initiative that is being proposed or being looked at or the solution that's being required, but you're able to bring a business lens as well because you've been involved in that decision making and you're so embedded in the business, you actually have these two different lenses that you're able to look through. And that gives you an ability to be able to shape, to be able to mold, to be able to adjust. And it gives you that capacity to be able to be agile in the nature of the design.
And add real impact.
Correct.
Because you're at that table hearing and listening to what the priorities are and what needs to happen.
Exactly.
And what do you do to ensure, or what did they do? Because I know it's not you, but so, what do your business partners, do you find these talented people? Do you build them? Because it's not a skill set every business partner has that they can go in and get a seat at the table and stay credible at it. So what do you do to have these people in your team?
Absolutely. I'm very lucky in that I'm surrounded by great people and people who are different to me. And I think that's really good. So, in the first instance, it's not about creating this homogeneous team. It's about creating a team that has diversity, that has different views, that have different perspectives. And for me, I certainly have a preference in terms of building within my own organisation or organisations that I've worked in previously, but building the talent that you have available to you, but doing it in a diverse way as well. So when I take a look at the business partners that work with me today, they come from very different backgrounds, very different backgrounds in terms of their professional experience, but also from a cultural experience. And they're able to bring significant different perspectives, and that acts as a great check on unconscious bias. And, to have that ability to be able to cross-check and sense-check yourself in terms of that unconscious bias and in terms of how you're approaching things by having that diverse team working with you, it's really quite crucial.
So to have these people that keep it honest, if you like, and their contribution can call things that you may not see or others may not see.
Correct. And that's why the cultural diversity piece, not just within HR, but when you're talking about across the organisation, that's why it's so important, because as you bring in those different approaches, those different ways of thinking, and all those different fantastic experiences people have, it just helps shape the house so much better.
Yeah, it's brilliant. And just in terms of shaping the house, because I know I get regularly asked with clients, how do others form their team? What are the roles in an OD global team? So we know we have business partners. What other roles are in there? Like, do you have a data scientist? Do you have an instructional designer? Like, what are the roles that make up this team?
Yeah, sure. So, like when we take a look at I suppose, at this area, it's not just about the specific team in itself. It's about the combined capacity of HR to be able to deliver. And I'll explain. So, for example, if we take a look at what we're trying to do within HR. We're trying to deliver the best service, but we're trying to do it in the most efficient way. And we're trying to do it in a way that enables us to bring value add in terms of the services that we can provide. In terms of reporting, do we have reporting capacity within HR? Yes, we do. Mm-hmm. Is that dedicated to OD in terms of specifically embedded within the team? No, it's not. But what we do have is a really strong I suppose, not just intent, but an actual team on the ground who are able to delve down really deep into analytics, really deep into reporting, and to be able to produce HR data that then can be consumed by the different functional parts of HR. So it's not just about OD. So, for example, it's about talent acquisition, it's about talent management, it's about reward and performance, and being able to actually bring all those different parts together. And to be able to say to ourselves, okay, from this type of information that we've been able to gather and data and knowledge that we've been able to gather on, a global scale, what does that mean then in terms of the development of our people? What does that mean? What information are we getting from our personal development plans? What do we see through attrition rate information? What do we see through the promotions that take place, the growth that takes place? What do we see through our engagement surveys? And being able to gather all that data together and feed that in to help form the rich picture which gets painted around, well, what do we now need to do in order to develop the organisation of today, but also of tomorrow?
So it's great that you've accessed that information is what you're saying, and it's like the whole employee life cycle, so you can see the whole thing. It's not just one piece of it, if you like.
Correct, because it's about a balanced approach, right? It's about a balanced approach. So if we think about it as a tricycle going down the road with three wheels, and if we don't take a balanced approach to this, what happens is we overinflate one tire. And we have one tire that's bigger than the other two. And as we try to cycle down the road on the tricycle, it starts to go around in circles because it's unbalanced. So when we take a look at our overall global HR function, what we're doing is adopting a developmental approach which is balanced in nature. So it's able to bring out the data analytics, for example, that's able to service our global needs.
And one of the things we hear a lot is like that systems don't speak to each other, and and we kind of look afar at global organisations and we say they must have it sus now because it's one system. And so I'm just interested in like the manners that's on these systems and how easy it is to access information. To what extent have you cracked it? Do you have a system that provides all this information? Have you got a HR system that integrates learning, LXPs and stuff? So maybe just tell me a little bit about that.
Sure. So Allianz does have a global HR information system. Built into that will be learning management systems. And we have various other tools and technologies that will be bolted on then as required in terms of the development of staff. But, ultimately, it's not just about having all those systems in place. It's about having an organization and having a leadership level that's built and equipped in a way that's able to then engage and utilize those services then that are available and those tools that are available. So if we're talking about all these tools and technologies which we have and which we've invested in heavily within Allianz and is giving us that quantitative edge in terms of the development of our talent, actually the real concentration point has to be on not just getting it in place, but how do we get people to engage with it?
Which is the big question, right? And I'm glad you brought that up because we've spoken about that before. So yes, how do you get people to engage with it? And I know there's a leadership requirement, but in general, how do you get people to engage?
Really, it's about people being self-empowered.
Right.
Right.
And personalised learning and self-driven and...
Absolutely. But it's really about people having an opportunity to feel that they can take ownership of their own development, that they can take a look around them and say, okay, what's available to me and what's available to my colleague who is based in let's say Australia.
And I can see that as an employee. There's transparency there.
Yes. Yeah. So there's, we would have a global learning catalogue in place. We have global learning services in place. We have global learning pathways in place. But it's not just about the top-down approach. People can build their own. People can develop their own. People can take a look at, we spoke about, let's say, the junior leader there a few moments ago. People can take a look at their own leaders who directly influence them and say, okay, how have they developed? How have they grown? I would like to develop in that area. So they can help build their own pathways as well. And again, it's about putting and mapping that to the overall then performance cycle as well. So, that doesn't happen in isolation. So, at the start of the year when you're doing your objective setting and, you need to put in place our personal development plans. And the reason for that is because we want to support people. And that personal development plan is not about, a one-way conversation between the leader and the team member. It's a dual conversation about, okay, how can we develop? How can I enhance myself? How can I grow further? So that self-empowerment is one of the keys. And
the building your own pathway and pulling your own curriculum is absolutely brilliant. To have that as an option as opposed to, here's your skill set, here's what you need to develop, here's your gap analysis. So your levels of engagement, high, medium, low?
Yes, levels of engagement are high.
Yeah.
We've got fantastic examples within the business of the end output. Because ultimately this is what we're thinking about. Is the end output is when you see people grow, you see people develop, you see people being able to avail of other career opportunities to grow further within the business. And we see that happening. We see that happening on a continuous and regular basis, whereby we have staff members who come in to a certain position and they develop a skill set, they grow that skill set, and then an opportunity opens up and they're able to develop themselves further and grow further in their career. And that ability, I suppose, within Allianz Partners, for us to offer that as a value proposition to our employees is something that's really valuable to us, right? Because it creates that sense of belonging, that sense of, this is not just me being part of a business. This is my business, right? I'm part of it because, it's your family, it's your home, and, you take pride in it.
And that sense of purpose, I think, is huge. To what extent has it impacted your attrition rates? The fact that they have this on offer, this potential for development and real career success and career pathway. How has that impacted the attrition rates?
Yeah, look, it has a positive impact. It has a positive impact. There's absolutely no doubt about it. And, our engagement scores would continually indicate how valuable career development and personal development are for all the members of our business. So it does impact positively on attrition rates. And the key reason for that is that people see that there's opportunities there, right? They see there's opportunities to grow. They see there's opportunities to develop, not necessarily just within the specific realms of, well, my career can enable me to grow into the next promotion or the next promotion, but in terms of their skill sets, their capabilities, their ability to be able to kind of gain, I suppose, let's say if you're talking about data analytics, knowledge and additional skill set, but then in a global environment like the business we operate in, to be able to actually then put that into practice and gain the experience, that's invaluable in terms of a person's career, right? It's invaluable in terms of their development journey, because it's not just about, doing the learning in terms of the specific context of a pathway. It's about being able to put that into actual practice, and the exposure that you get within that is really valuable.
And they get that every day because of that frontline customer engagement piece.
Absolutely.
They don't have to wait.
No, they don't have to wait. It's an open door. And, it really, in the global environment that we're in, where we do follow the sun, where we do have customers in every single country, it's really an environment that gives our employees an opportunity not just to develop their skill set, but to actually put them into practice. And that's very valuable.
In the interest of our 440, I'm going to ask you kind of 4 quick questions to kind of end it here, but you don't have to be quick in your answers because we're very interested. As an OD intervention or initiative, what is the one that you're most proud of?
I suppose that's a difficult question because there's been so many. There's been so many that we've been involved in. I know certainly, look, when we talk about that global mindset, that one team approach, certainly the Power Hour initiative that we would have been involved in, whereby I suppose across a whole range of different areas, we're looking to engage that one team model where you have, people attending regardless of the country that they're in. So you have people dialing in from Italy or from Spain or from India, for example, all at the same time. All learning the same type of content, all been able to gain the same type of experience. That's something that added to the rich picture again that we were painting and the model that we were creating at the time. So certainly that's something that definitely really helped us. But also our #Lead program is very valuable to us. Yeah. Our leadership passport, it provides the benchmark for what we want in terms of our leaders.
And maybe just tell us a little, because I know I'm going off here, but I really want to hear a little bit more around that program and even the passport and how long it's running. So maybe just give us a quick descriptor of that #Lead program.
It's a program that's applicable across all our people leaders within Allianz. Okay. And it combines a number of different elements. It combines a virtual classroom where you could have people attending from all different parts of the business who are all people leaders, sharing their experience, sharing their knowledge, learning new things in relation to their leadership journey. And then you also, in support of that, you have a virtual program that people have to complete online. Okay. And that supports the classroom element of it. Okay. It supports the virtual classroom element of it. So you have...
It's self-managed, self-paced.
Exactly. So you have, the scheduled virtual classrooms, and then you have this online journey that people work through themselves. And ultimately, it creates a scenario whereby you learn, you develop, but you're creating this common base of what the values are within the business, about what we expect of our people leaders. And that creates, I suppose, a foundation block for us that's very important. And it's our leadership passport. But that's only part 1, right? Part 2 is that we need to renew that leadership passport on a yearly basis through participation in self-development activities, which you notate, which you log, etc. And that enables us, I suppose, as a business to help influence some of those learning activities by making suggestions, highlighting certain pathways, certain, different programs, initiatives, sessions that can all add to that renewal of that leadership passport.
And have you any idea how many have gone through this program to date? I know it's going to keep going, but any idea?
Well, it's a global thousands.
Yeah.
Thousands at this point. Thousands at this point. So I won't give you the exact number, but
we'll take thousands.
It is thousands. It's in the thousands.
Second question: next OD initiative.
Well, there's so many that our Centre of Excellence teams are working on. To be honest with you, but there's a couple of different points within it. I would go back to our customer centricity, how important that is. Okay, so there are lots of different activities being developed within that area, but it's important to highlight we have common, let's say, organizational initiatives that we would have, but we also would have functional type initiatives. So, for example, there will be dedicated ones for the operations function or IT function or different parts of the business as well. So what that does is it presents, going back to what we were talking about in terms of an ability for individuals to navigate their own pathway and create their own pathway. You want to have organizational level initiatives that people can access, whether that's, for example, in project management, but then you want dedicated functional one that are maybe specific to their own skill set and their own area. And we deliver those as well.
And you're constantly tweaking those and seeing what's next and updating.
Constantly tweaking, constantly evolving. And our Centre of Excellence teams within our HR function are excellent at being able to do that. And, it's a never-ending journey. It's something that continually evolves. And we're really lucky within Allianz in terms of the global workforce that we have, because as new people join, as we get different ideas in, the approach can adjust, the approach can shift. And it might be just the same type of initiative, but a different emphasis being placed on it.
They're almost keeping you on your toes as such, or
Absolutely.
that fresh thinking and different
Absolutely.
ways.
And
you're regenerating all the time as you're bringing new people in.
Exactly. So that rich picture that we talk about, that you have on the wall, and you come in tomorrow, it's changed. You might notice the change straight away, but there is a change. And over time that evolves. And it's like, I suppose, a slow motion edited a picture that changes, but then when you fast forward it, you go, oh God, I didn't realize, right? And it does. That cultural richness brings so much to the table.
But it only does if you collaborate and listen, and it sounds like you do. So you allow it in.
Yes.
And it comes in and it changes, which is great. My question 3 and 4 are kind of the same, and they're about you. So first question is, how do you end up being an OD leader? And secondly, what advice have you got for other OD leaders to be successful? So I don't know what way you want to answer, but how did you end up in that seat? By accident, that's not an answer, but anyway, go on.
Okay, well, that was going to be my answer,
okay.
but okay. So I suppose, like anything else, it's a series of steps and actions that I've taken throughout my career. So I'm lucky enough to be in a position now where I'm working with a great organisation in a fantastic role. I work across our health and our home insurance business, and it's really fantastic. But in order to get to the position where I am today, have I been ambitious? Absolutely. Yeah. Have I developed myself? Absolutely. Have I worked really hard to understand the business and what the business needs? Very much so. But I've also had great people to influence me, and I've learned from that. I've taken so much from some of the people that I've worked with, some of the people that have come into my life through work, and been able to look and to say to yourself, okay, maybe I need to adjust. Maybe I need to change a little bit my approach there. Maybe I need to learn from them. So the importance of those stakeholders that we talk about.
Mentors, effectively.
Exactly. So, it goes back to the roots of leadership, Find leaders that are there, good leaders, and follow them. Follow them and learn from them. And that's certainly something I would have done.
So your advice today to other OD leaders, what should they be focusing on to be successful as OD leaders in a global context? Because it is slightly different.
Context, yeah, sure. First one is to be open-minded. Okay. Your position is always right until it's proved wrong. Right? So you have to have the ability to be able to realize that. You have to have the ability to be able to say, look, okay, I have a certain perspective on something, but, more information may come to the table. And it could be true that data analytics and reporting, it could be true, some other avenue. So you have to be open-minded in your approach. You have to be willing to evolve. You have to be willing to move. So the level of change that takes place and the pace of change. And all of this is driven by, customer demands, right?
Listen to them and
absolutely
have your answer.
Yeah, so like if you're a customer-centric organisation, that's what you're doing. So, you have to be able to evolve within that, because if you don't, then you're not being customer-centric. So your ability to be able to evolve is very important. Your cultural awareness in a global organisation, you do have to be culturally aware, and you have to learn from that. So, the exact approach you take in one particular circumstance may have to change slightly. And, having that diverse team, which I do have working with me today and supporting me today, really gives me that ability, because it's so diverse. And I suppose I've deliberately brought in people, and developed people within the organisation who have different perspectives than I do, because we don't want one common thinking or one common, thought process. We want diversity in our thought processes, and that's really important. So that would be the third one. And then the final point, I suppose, it's going to sound, I suppose, a little bit maybe silly or something, but it's you got to enjoy what you do, right? If you enjoy what you do, yes, you'll have ups. Yes, you'll have downs. Yes, you'll have days where things don't go exactly right, and you might get a knockback here and there and everything else like that. But you know what? I love going to work every morning, right? I have great fun in work, okay? I enjoy what I do. And yes, sometimes things don't go exactly right. But you know what? Pretty much every single week, at the end of the week, I'm kind of like saying to myself, yeah, that was good. I'm looking forward to next week. So enjoy what you do.
Brilliant. And I think it's probably one of the most important things, so don't demean it. I think it's absolutely brilliant. And on that note, thank you so much. It was really insightful. We're at our end of our week as well, so you'll definitely get a chance to enjoy things, and your insights and your achievements have been fantastic. So Simon from Allianz Partners, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you very much, Nicola.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of our 4 at 40 podcast series. A big thank you to our guest Simon Cahill for his generosity of time and memorable insights. We are a social bunch, so please let us know what you think on our socials. Or contact us at hello@harvest.ie if you would like to explore a potential partnership in the future. My name is Nicola O'Neill, and I look forward to seeing you again soon for our next episode.